A minute.
Well, that clocks at 6. Good evening, and welcome to the May 19th school board meeting. We have a lot of guests tonight, so this is very exciting. So we have, who is announcing our pledger?
Ms. Talon.
Ms. Talent. Hi.
Okay, so I have with me tonight 3 wonderful BMS students, 8th grader Lily Boswell and 7th graders Sierra Ybarra and Idel Marhefka. All 3 of the students recently traveled to Washington, D.C., and some of the most memorable moments from that trip is when we go to Arlington National Cemetery to see the changing of the guard, and some of our students always, or usually I should say, participate in the laying of the wreath ceremony. So these 3 girls with Rain Webster, who also participated but couldn't make it, wrote essays, very moving essays as to why the ceremony was important and why Arlington National Cemetery was important to their families. So their essays were chosen. So they got to participate in the ceremony. Despite some drizzle to begin the ceremony, they performed the wreath-laying ceremony with grace and respect and did a really, really great job. So they represented the BMS Bulldog community with all of the great things that we want our students to have. And their peers were really moved. It was a really great moment. So they are here with me tonight. And also Idel and Sierra were both integral parts of our spring play, which was Willy Wonka Jr., so they're kind of double role. All 3 of these students are great students academically, integral parts of our community in many ways, sports, clubs, and things like that. So just all around awesome Bulldogs. So if you guys wouldn't mind helping me begin the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Didn't know if anyone had questions about the trip or the play.
I almost fell.
You right?
I am.
It wasn't on camera.
It's been quite a day.
I'm not supposed to drink it.
Questions for the young ladies?
Was it everything? Like, I mean, I've been to Arlington. It's just unbelievable being there. Was it just as moving as you expected it to be?
Yeah, it was really cool.
Well, thank you guys for representing Barrington so well. That's amazing.
And thank you guys for continuing to support that trip.
Oh, it's integral.
Well, we have a little something. I know this isn't as momentous as Arlington National Cemetery, but we have a little flag pin to thank you for coming and helping us say the pledge and representing Barrington so well in Washington.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Oh, I just reference. I should have just did that today. All right. All right, so approval of the agenda. Are there any changes we need to make?
2 additional resignations to add to the resignation list, both paraprofessionals, Jess Simmons and Reese Matson.
Motion to approve as amended?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the April 21st public minutes, non-public minutes, and May 12th non-public minutes. I have one change I think we need to make to the minutes. It should indicate when we go into non-public that we always do a roll call vote, and the minutes don't indicate that. So if you could just add that.
Is it both sets, Moira? I can look, no big deal.
Well, we only have one
Oh, sorry.
where,
Yep,
but let me look.
the second one. Yep.
Yeah.
Non-public. Right, because you didn't,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So it says a roll call vote exiting out of non-public, but it's really when we go into non-public that we have the roll call vote. So just have that going forward. Did anyone else have anything for the minutes?
There's just a grammatical on public comment. It says there were no public commenta. I think it's just comment. I only saw it because You're looking at.
So, April 21.
Some Latin right there.
Must have been.
Commenta, commentai, commentai, commentam, commentas.
All right.
All right.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's Fiona.
All right. So tonight for Co-Brown is the senior portfolio night, where our seniors are currently presenting to members of our community their senior projects, their 20 hours or more of community service, and just overall what they've done for Co-Brown and our community, and their plans beyond what we have here. Wednesday through Friday, Future Farmers of America will be having a greenhouse sale, so anything in the greenhouse is for sale. Wednesday, the boys volleyball will be having their final home game, and they have 3 left overall. So tomorrow, if you would like to go support the boys volleyball, you should go. Tomorrow also, boys lacrosse will be having their final away game with 5 more left in the schedule against Campbell. Baseball and softball have 6 games left each. Tomorrow, they're both at Kennett. Thursday, girls lacrosse will be having their final home game against the Inner Lakes, which, as team manager, I've been told we should probably go support. Friday is our seniors' last day, which for me, I'm very close with a couple of seniors, so that's a bit of a sorrow day for us. Monday, the girls lacrosse will have their final regular season game against Bow, which we should be having a challenge with, but we're up for it. Wednesday is our senior graduation, and Thursday is our rain date in case there's unfortunately rain. June 4th is our freshman parent night, and it's also meet the coaches night for our fall sports. The 8th is Co-Brown's last day of the 2025-2026 school year, and August 20th will be our starting day for the 2026 to 2027 academic school year.
Any big plans for the summer?
Not really. I've been looking into some internships or some places where I can volunteer, specifically the Red Cross.
Oh, good for you. Nice work.
Now, you're going to be a senior next year, right?
I'm going to be a junior
Oh,
next
okay.
year.
More year to think about that portfolio.
I know.
A little bit of time.
Yeah.
Although I did just sign that her attendance and coming and participating, so she's got some hours in the books.
Civic involvement.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? Well, we thank you for your time here this year. You've done an excellent job and always represented Co-Brown very well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Go Bears.
Yes. Yes. Go Bears.
All right, public comment. Always start with folks in here. Anybody? Don't all jump at once. All right, anyone online? I don't see anything, Jeff, do you? All right, moving on. There is another opportunity later in the meeting for those of you who stay. All right, so Educator Excellence Award.
Usually here with a gaggle of Barrington School Foundation members, but tonight it's just Nikki and I. She volunteered to come stand next to me if I was really nervous, but I think I can do it. My name is Janine Roberts. I am the co-chair of the Barrington School Foundation, which is a local all-volunteer nonprofit, the purpose of which is just supporting Barrington schools and children. Our flagship initiative, which you might be familiar with, is partnering with Dolly Parton Imagination Library to get books to kids under 5 in Barrington. So they get a book in the mail every month. We host literacy events such as story walks and pajama parties, and we've given out over 35,000 books to Barrington residents, which is really cool, and educators. The School Foundation supports innovation and educational projects that support Barrington's children. And then we do one other cool thing, which is recognize educators in Barrington, which is why we're here tonight. Since 2003, the Barrington School Foundation has presented awards to educators who go above and beyond. We want to celebrate how hard they work, their ability to reach out and connect with students, creativity, and how they make Barrington schools amazing. Over the years, how this award has been given out has shifted. During COVID, we really felt like all educators in Barrington need to be recognized, but we're shifting back to rotating between the schools. So this year it's BES, and we're happy to recognize an outstanding educator who will receive a plaque, a check for $500, and a cookie from George Clark, which might be more valuable than any of those other things I mentioned. This year's Excellence in Education Award is presented to Rick Pine. For 29 years, Rick Pine has exemplified what it means to be an outstanding educator. As a fourth grade teacher, he has built a reputation for setting high expectations while creating a classroom environment where every student feels supported, respected, and capable of success. Rick's students leave his classroom prepared not only academically, but also socially and emotionally for the challenges of middle school and beyond. As a middle school educator, it's often easy to tell who has come from Rick's fourth grade program. They stand out above the rest. Colleagues describe Rick as patient, professional, approachable, deeply committed to both his students and his school community. Parents praise his ability to meet students where they are, helping them grow into confident, organized, and independent learners. Whether mentoring fellow teachers, collaborating with families, or guiding students with empathy and consistency, Rick brings heart, wisdom, and dedication to all that he does. His impact can be seen in the success of his students and in the respect and admiration of those fortunate enough to work alongside him. It is with great pride that the Barrington School Foundation recognizes Rick Pine as this year's Excellence in Education Award recipient.
Hold that applause, please.
He wants to say a few words.
I am not Rick Pine, but often kids will think that we are brothers or that we are in some way related or even just get us mixed up often. I just want to take a few minutes and say a few more things about you, Rick. I haven't been at BES quite as long as you, but I just, the impact you've had on me as a school leader and has just been pretty remarkable in the 4 years that I've been fortunate enough to know you. So I would like to say a few things in your recognition of this. But so I'm just going to read so I don't go off script. So it's truly an honor to recognize you, Rick, as this year's recipient of the Excellence in Education Award. Being Rick's principal for the last 4 years, I've had the privilege of seeing your work up close. Not just in your moments of instruction in the classroom, but in the countless small, consistent ways you show up for your students and your colleagues every day. As you shared with me, this is actually your 30th year of fourth grade, 29 as a teacher, and 1 year as a fourth grade student himself. And honestly, Rick, that feels exactly right. There's something about you that is perfectly matched to that age group. You understand where students are developmentally, and more importantly, you understand where they need to go to be successful. You have a unique ability to set high expectations while still meeting each student exactly where they are. Your classroom is structured and purposeful, but it's also warm and supportive. Your students know what is expected of them, and they rise to those expectations because they feel supported by you along the way. You don't just teach content, you also build habits. Things like organization and independence and perseverance. These are the things that the students carry with them well beyond fourth grade. In fact, one of the things I hear most often from the middle school is that they can immediately tell which students Rick had. They come prepared, focused, and as we say at BES, ready to learn. That kind of long-term impact speaks volumes. Rick, what makes you truly special isn't just what happens in your classroom, it's who you are within our whole school community. You're a steady and trusted presence. You've served on our leadership and guiding coalition. You've supported administration when needed, both short-term and longer term. And you're always willing to step into important conversations about teaching and learning. You ask thoughtful questions, not to challenge for the sake of it, which I appreciate, thank you, but to truly make things better. And just as importantly, you know how to listen. You're open to new ideas. Even in your 30th year, you're willing to grow, and you're deeply committed to doing what is truly best for students. Rick, you're also someone who your colleagues turn to not just for your experience, but for your professionalism, your patience, and your perspective. You've mentored others, supported teammates, and helped strengthen our school simply by being the kind of educator people trust and respect. Underlying all of this is a deep sense of care. Rick, you truly understand that growth, both academically and socially, emotionally, is not always a straight line. In fact, it usually most often is not a straight line. You approach students with empathy, consistency, and a belief that every child can truly succeed. That belief shows up in the way you teach, the way you interact, and the way you build long-lasting relationships. What stands out to me most about you, Rick, is your consistency. In a profession that can often feel fast-paced and always changing, you are steady. You show up, you do the work, and you make a difference day in and day out. We are incredibly fortunate to have you, Rick, as part of our school community, and even more fortunate for the impact you have had on generations of students. Rick, congratulations. This recognition is not only well-deserved, it is also a reflection of a career dedicated to students, to learning, and to doing all this work the right way. Congratulations, Rick.
This plaque for you, and I would like to second everything they said, for all you've done for all the students, and I can speak as a parent for what you specifically did for my child, so thank you very much.
Go outside after.
And the best part.
The cookies in there, I am happy.
You might want to check, but.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh my God. All right, so we're up to the Champion for Children Award, and Superintendent Ray will present that.
I'm going to go up to the microphone, but I have to do a quick notification of said award. I almost forgot. That would have been tragic. All right. That's a hard act to follow. You guys are, yeah. So I don't often get to do this award, so I'm pretty excited to be able to this evening. I'm going to kind of pause a little bit because I'm waiting for an entry, but anyway. All right, so tonight we are very proud to recognize and congratulate the recipient of the 2026 Champions for Children Award. This recognition
That's not very nice.
reflects not only the tremendous work that he does each and every day, but also the deep care and commitment he brings to our students, staff, schools, and the greater Barrington community. He leads with humility, integrity, and a very strong work ethic, never asking others to do something that he's not willing to do himself. Whether working alongside staff members, helping problem solve during challenging situations, or modeling responsibility and pride in one's work, he consistently demonstrates what true leadership looks like. His dedication is perhaps most visible during those difficult New England winter weather times that we all know and love, where he can be found arriving at all hours of the day and night to ensure that our roads, parking lots, and sidewalks are clear, safe, and ready for students and staff. Don't look at me. His work often happens behind the scenes, but his impact is felt by every person who enters our schools safely each day. He not only considers the aesthetics, he ensures that we're being fiscally mindful and forward-thinking. He's also a true team player who values collaboration and connection. Through his partnerships with town departments, municipal staff, he helps strengthen the important relationship between our schools and the broader community, ensuring that we work collectively together for the benefit of all. In addition, his openness to growth and willingness to embrace new learning, from utilizing Google Docs and calendars to supporting organizational systems and communication tools, reflects a mindset of growth and continuous improvement that benefits the entire district. Tonight, we celebrate not only this well-deserved award, but the character, professionalism, flexibility, and care that make him such an invaluable member of our school community. Congratulations, Joe, on being named our champion for children, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you very much. Look at that.
Can I jump in?
This is definitely unexpected. I just show up to do my job.
You get a cookie.
All right, we'll share this tonight. This will be for everybody.
No, in case you want the words.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. Very unexpected. And
It's the best kind.
we'll have another.
Well, let me take a picture.
No,
You
we
take a
we
picture
gotta get
in
going,
any
'cause
old way.
Ashley's
I know.
got a thing to get going.
I know.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all very much.
So you know we moved this award because Teresa was traveling?
Yes.
2 weeks ago, and I'm like, no, I can't be there.
All right. Yeah, stay here.
Swiper, no swiping.
No pressure, it's
No
fine.
pressure.
All right, so next up is the board to vote on the superintendent's contract. Did any board members have any questions or comments? Anyone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, Emily.
All right, great. So we've got some guests who I'm going to have move over into the principal seats.
Thanks. Thanks, Katie.
All right, great, thank you. So the first part of tonight in my report is kind of the most exciting, I think, is our ELA selection process. So I want to acknowledge, while I have been on board for 1 year, this has been a 4-year process for many people who have been on the committee. There's been some challenging work, and this year we're really focused on true collaboration and honesty to get us to the place where we are. And we had 13 teachers, case managers, reading specialists, 4 administrators, and an additional 4 teachers piloting this program. So we had a large number of people, and I just wanted to thank the committee, which included Amy Baer, Christy Croft, Keith Nice, Colleen Fenton, Nikki Kivicki, Sarah Mishu, Callie Mackey, Ian Haddock, Nicole Smith, Dylan Cortal, Janine Roberts, Amanda Langerden, Rebecca Sharrow, and all of the administrators as well for spending time this year working through this process. We had 4 teachers edition piloting, and Hannah Arroyo is here tonight. And we also had Jody Byron, Brandy Godblot, name I probably just butchered, and Jody Byron. So all of the programs that we reviewed starting at the beginning of the year were all science and reading aligned, which is our requirement. And then from there, we kind of narrowed the list to think about what was going to work for us and kind of narrow it down to finalists. We ended up choosing Collaborative Literacy. They were the only nonprofit in the group. So all the other programs are educational companies, and we really enjoyed kind of the nonprofit focus because they are really focused on literacy and exceptional teaching. They have been very responsive to us. Professional development, we don't feel like we're dealing with a huge corporation. We have people we can call and talk to that have been really helpful. And it's a strong research base. There's quality engaging books and strategies. And I thought that it would be best just to hear from the team itself who has piloted the program with the students and just hear what they have to say. So Hannah Arroyo and Sarah Mishu did first grade. Nikki Kivicki did kindergarten. We also had pilots in second and third and fourth grade as well. But I'll just turn it over to you to tell us a little bit about your experience.
First? Sure, I'll go first. Echoing what Emily said, it's definitely been a long process over the past 4 years. And when we looked at this program, it felt like from the get-go, our first meeting with them, it was a virtual meeting, that they really just spoke to what we were looking for and what we all believe is good for children and educating the children in our town. And it also didn't feel like that sales pitch. It actually felt like they're people who know this curriculum. Many of them have taught this curriculum, and they could answer any of our questions. And we didn't really find that with any of the other companies that we spoke to. Yeah, it just really felt like the complete package and a great match for us. And it just really feels like it's tying all of our district initiatives together. You know, when we think about things we've been working on for the past few years with Reveal, our math program, thinking about what we've done over the years with Responsive Classroom, all of our SEL initiatives, that this just really feels like the final piece of the puzzle because everything just is kind of connecting. Talk more about that. You're going to talk about my classroom. You want to go classroom?
Yeah, I can do classroom. I mean, Nikki has a great perspective because, unlike what Emily said, unlike the rest of us, she's been there right from the beginning when this process started, and it's had its ups and downs. And I feel like I've come in very late to the party and just joined this past year when we did narrow it down as a committee to the 2 choices. So not having, I mean, they shared it with me, but not having had the experience of all the trials and tribulations that led up to this year, I kind of just got to benefit from us finding this amazing program and piloting it in the classroom. So I had sent an email to parents that I presented it to the kids like, we were chosen. We're the chosen ones. Mr. Boardman trusts us to practice this because we might do it in the future. So engaged them right away in what we were about to do.
Like, this is a special job that
yes,
we have the responsibility
absolutely.
for the whole school.
Yep.
And they were very excited.
They were, yeah. That was Hannah's idea. Like, tell them it's a privilege.
Because I actually did, I was part of the process a little bit last year with my third graders, actually. I moved third to first, so I've gotten a little bit of a diverse view of the process. So that's what I did last year, too. I was like, we've gotten this opportunity to help our school and our community to make this big decision. So the buy-in was a lot better with first graders than it was with third graders with this big job. So they were really, really excited.
Right. So we had the opportunity, like Nikki and Emily, the company itself, they have been so responsive and so like the information they've shared, it wasn't like cookie cutter information. It was, well, you're Barrington, so this is what you'll need. Like it seemed very catered to us, incredibly knowledgeable. It was a pretty smooth, and it's intimidating, right? To like, it wasn't a typical pilot. It's not like we started this in September. We started pretty late into the year where routines and everything was established. So it was nerve-wracking, like, okay, I'm gonna throw you guys for a loop and we're gonna do it this way now. But the buy-in was great. and I imagine, and please speak up if you have different questions, but I imagine what you want to hear is like, how did it go for the kids? Well, I can speak about my classroom. They, from day one, were absolutely hooked. The books from the unit we did were super, super engaging. It's kind of not a reader's workshop model, but like the literacy part of it it hooked them right away. There's an entire vocabulary part where they have these bright, colorful, relatable images for vocabulary. And then there's a huge chunk that has kids with books in their hands talking to each other about literacy, talking to each other about stories, reading to each other.
And making connections. Not with just what we're doing, but like homeschool connections and things from their own life outside of the four walls.
And what Nikki said, it is kind of such a beautiful piece to our puzzle because like the routines and structures that I just randomly introduced in March or whenever we did it, I'm still using those, and I'm reaping the benefits from them. The turn and talk routine, and mind you, those are things I taught them in September, but the way this was laid out and how engaging it was, it made it so much easier. And now when I do reveal, I'm like, turn and talk to your partner about math. And they do it the same way. And I'm like holding on to something like, wow, this is permeating our entire day. So Hannah can add more, but the one thing that the biggest takeaway for me is we had planned, it was a lot of work and it was hard to kind of squeeze this into our already well-established routine, part of our year. But we got back from April vacation. Hannah and I planned it all out. We did like a 3-week unit that wrapped up before April vacation. So we get back from April vacation and they're looking at the class schedule and they're like, where's being a reader? And I'm like, because it went back to the other programs that we do, and that was our plan all along to kind of like
just trying it.
Yeah, it was just a trial, and they were devastated. They're like, but we're not gonna. What's our new words? And I'm like starting to sweat. Like, oh my god, like I'm getting grilled here. Like they
come up with something.
Yeah, like oh. So just that alone should speak to the engagement of it. And then even today, we read a story, and it was something about the Great Wall of China, something. Little girl raises her hand. She's like, that's like the walled city in Fritz and the Beautiful Horses. And I'm holding on to furniture because I'm like, and they're like, Miss Mishu, we just need a text-to-text connection. I'm like, yeah, you did. I just am blown away.
She's been talking about it the whole year.
I know. You couldn't do that before. It took this touch of magic to really. I'm just like super, like I get goosebumps. I'm super excited about where this can lead. I think it goes beautifully, like Nikki said, with responsive classroom, with the portrait of a learner, which Nikki also had a huge hand in. I just see it as like the puzzle finally coming together, and it's very exciting as someone kind of new that doesn't have all the baggage that kind of came before. I'm excited. I know Hannah's excited too. So
yeah,
go ahead.
I have kind of an interesting position coming in because I started in the district 4 years ago, so just kind of like in the beginning of this whole process as an intern and just kind of getting to see this whole decision-making process happen has been really cool. So I have never really had experience teaching like a comprehensive literacy program. It's just kind of been like, oh, sometimes we do this, and then sometimes we'll pull a little bit of this from this place and just like use your best judgment to teach whatever you think is best. And I'm like, okay, great. So I think that having been given, even just for like a limited amount of time, these resources, everything like Nikki and Sarah have mentioned feels really comprehensive, and it just feels like complete. I have found over the past few years of teaching, just like I am always like, oh great, I need to go find another resource and like cut it out and laminate it and print it, and like this just everything's kind of already there, and it feels good. Like over the 3 weeks that we were teaching this, I was like, oh, I don't have to do anything. Like it's already all there, so that feels great from a teaching perspective. And yeah, the buy-in was awesome, and just like the gaps that we've been having in literacy instruction, like the vocabulary instruction, the writing instruction being correlated with the reading instruction, that's kind of a big gap that's been missing. I think was great to see, and my kids I feel like I noticed the academic discourse that they were having was
Right.
really awesome to
Yeah,
see.
for sure.
Yeah.
And oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
At our last meeting, when we were all talking about it, I think that was the buy-in and the excitement from kids from kindergarten through fourth grade. Like, we all kind of shared similar stories. And I think for us, again, it just solidified, excuse me, just how great we feel about this program and what it offers our kids.
I did want to touch on one more thing, is that like I don't know if it's each unit or each week or honestly each lesson has a direct instruction social emotional focus.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that has been a gap in our district as well, just because it's the direct instruction piece. And I think that we can all acknowledge that, like, as a whole of the population of learners, that there needs to be kind of some more instruction on some of those skills that maybe in the past has just been natural, but they need to know, like, oh, you need to share, you need to work together. And they really do a nice job of fluidly, like, working it in with the story of, like, oh, these characters didn't get along, how could you get along? And, like, fostering those kind of discussions and routines of, like, how can you be a good classmate and work together, and explicitly teaching those things. So I think that that's great.
What are your questions?
Jeez. You couldn't find anyone more enthusiastic about it?
The rest I had to fend off with a stick. But I think I certainly do want to thank you for your perspective and your time and really in diving into this with students. And I will say that when I came into the classroom to observe, I had a similar experience. But as an outside observer and as the teacher, right, it's important that both things work. And so that the program meets a lot of our needs as far as gaps that we see in our scoring around vocabulary and explicit instruction and aligned to science of reading. But we really wanted it to be joyful, and I really feel like this program hits that component. I think we had another program we reviewed, and we sort of quietly declared it joyless. Like, it would get the job done, and it had the content, it met the things, but we weren't inspired. And so this group, when they were unpacking their boxes with the books, I mean, it was just like a birthday, or it was just like, right? Oh, look at this. Oh, I know this book. Oh, I've never heard of this book. So it was just really exciting to see that kind of literacy with beautiful books in hand that also were enriching and tied to knowledge, and having then students engage. The videos we watched, especially I think of the writing process, their focus really is on that writing is for an audience. And so the audience is your classmates, right? So there's a lot of peer editing and conversations and feedback, and then reflection on, right, were you a good listener? Were you a good partner? Did you take feedback from them? So it's been a really nice thing that's just sort of wrapped it all together. And so New Hampshire has really not been using this. We thought we were gonna be the first adopters, and so because they're a nonprofit, they don't have a big advertising budget, their big kind of breaking loose in the whole country has been that they've just received a really positive report from the Reading League Compass report. And so because of that, there's been some other towns that have been looking at it, and so we thought that we might be the only and first district in New Hampshire, and we've since learned that there are 2 others in the state that will all be kind of starting as the first one. So we really wanted to go and see the program in action. They have Massachusetts and Maine, and so we're just really kind of excited that it took an extra year and we found a program that really fits well for us. So.
Good.
So I think it's important to note that, like, new to us, but not new. Because we were in Freeport talking to some schools in the Maine, northern Maine area, and they're like on year 6.
Yeah.
And they're like, you should see the growth and what, like Hannah said, for a brand new teacher, this is a dream, right? So it just had so many, that was great feedback for us to hear from teachers who have done this for a while. Because sometimes you hear from teachers who have adopted a curriculum and it's like shiny and new at first, and then that shimmer wears off. Whereas they were telling stories about the long-term impact that a program like this was having in their districts. And I was like, oh, that's exciting too. So it was just like layer upon layer of exciting, positive, encouraging feedback. So that felt good too.
Trying to answer my question, like, is there any, like, have you heard from anyone that the shine is worn off, or like, onboarding it? They're like, it's gonna be great, but we're missing this. I'm not trying to look for anything, I mean, but.
So I think I would just say that there were a couple of things that the group had said, like, I didn't see that they did this, I didn't see that they did that. So they're revising, so we piloted the second edition. They have an expanded second edition that's coming out in June. It will be live July 1. That is the one that we're picking up. The questions that we had, they seem to have addressed in those. So third and fourth didn't feel like there was as much robust vocabulary as there was in K through 2, and they said they've adjusted that for this next edition. So we had some small things, and I think, right, once we get into it with any program, there will be pieces that we need to organize and adjust, but really, we didn't have any.
I think the only thing that I've heard other teachers saying is the biggest change for us is going to be that all phonics instruction moves from whole group like we've been doing with foundations and UFly, and it's a complete transition into small group differentiated instruction, which is going to be a big change for everybody.
That'll be an adjustment.
And I think there's obviously going to be some growing pains with that, just kind of going away from what you've always known doing, and what feels comfortable to what's new and right. But yeah, that's definitely going to be a big change.
So I think their philosophy in the early grades is really teaching to mastery and finding out where students are. So if students come in knowing a skill, they don't need to sit through whole class instruction for that skill. So the small group component is a really strong emphasis in this program, and they recognize that they need to teach really clear classroom routines so that students are all engaged. So you don't want to have the teacher working with one table and these kids over here poking their friend and off task, right? So they have really consistent structures so that all the groups are engaged and they know what to expect and what to do when the teacher isn't with them, and then the teacher can work explicitly with a small group just based on what they need, and they have a regular cycle of assessment so they know if they're going back or if they're moving on. There's a fluid switching of those groups as they move through, so that's an exciting component. And then I think it
A lot of
ties into
reassurance that the trainers, that's part of what they train you in.
Yeah.
But it's not just the, what am I trying to say? It's not just the academics. It's the systems and the, they'll really support us with our master schedule and making sure things fit and, what are the other kids doing? It's like all in the book. It's really just a fully comprehensive support system, and then the trainers are like, if you have questions about that, here's my cell phone. They're so accessible.
Yeah.
Like, email me, call me, have Emily, so that feels really good, whereas other places are very hard to get a hold of.
Right? It takes months sometimes.
And well, I'll tell you, I did not feel this enthusiastic about piloting the program
Last
that we
year?
tried out last
Yeah.
year. It was the opposite of enthusiasm.
And I think that's a big piece of it.
Yeah.
We piloted 2 programs last year, and none of us felt good about coming to the table or coming here and saying, we'll do this. If we had to pick one, could we have made it work? It would have been okay, but nobody felt good about that, and none of us wanted that. And I think even some of the programs that we looked at this year, there was one it had a big overhaul, and like they fixed things, they listened to feedback from teachers, and we were really excited to look at it, and then it was just really underwhelming. It still didn't feel like it hit the mark. So this has been just very, very refreshing.
All right, well, I know agenda-wise, we need to kind of move into other components. So I want to thank you very
I just had
much
a
for
quick
your
question
time.
before you.
Yep.
The judgment of these 3 mean a lot to me, so if they're good with it, I'm good with it. But I'm not for picking a curriculum to teach to any assessment test, but because it's new in New Hampshire, do you have any concerns about it not being applicable to our?
I don't, because our New Hampshire SAS is really closely aligned to Common Core.
Yep.
And so because this has such a strong rating from the Reading Link Compass and that it's science of reading aligned, if you think about the reading standards K through 12, they really are the same standards, they just spiral. The standards don't change, whereas other subjects they do. So it is really skill-based. And so I think that the kind of piece of a lot of curriculum is sort of what books do they choose for you to practice those skills with, right? And are they also building knowledge and other skills, or are they not? So I'm not concerned about that. I'm really excited about the writing component. We did not have a chance to pilot the writing, but we kind of went through the training, and that has been a challenge for us score-wise, and they just have a really nice structure that's based in learning science, but also includes that collaborative piece. And so it was great to see kids on video just sharing, working with students they wouldn't usually work with, being able to communicate and share. So I'm excited about it. so you're welcome to stick around, but you also are welcome to enjoy.
Thank you guys for all the hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I will pivot briefly to the funding sources. So I had included that in the report, but just thinking through how are we going to afford this in a default budget year. So Deanna and Vicki and I and principals have spent a long time kind of looking through those pieces. The company has been very flexible with us that they will allow us to do a split payment model, so we can take some money from this year that we have and then some from next year to be able to complete that. It is a little bit higher than we had estimated because this program includes classroom libraries. So a big part of this is a range of texts for students to be able to do in small book groups. And so that will come with this so that every classroom has their own classroom library of books that students are able to choose. Classrooms do have libraries right now, but they may not be as varied as far as reading level and content that they want. So they might say, like, everyone pick a book on adventures for this task, and they'll be able to find that in the classroom library. So I've outlined kind of where we're thinking we'll get the money from, and be able to figure that out. And there'll be some savings from some things that we aren't going to purchase next year because this is a comprehensive program. And then our last kind of projected shortfall, we're hoping that we can cover through some open enrollment tuition from 3 to 5 students, which we feel like would probably be likely that we would get. Obviously, that's not for sure, and so we'd have to look at other places if we aren't able to do that. So that's the financial kind of component of this.
So this is the 1 year, but like, what's the ongoing annual cost?
The ongoing is about $18,000 for the K through 5 based on enrollment of 100. It won't be quite that much because there's no flexibility in the initial buy for classroom size. They base it on a classroom of 30. And so because ours are half that, we will have a lot of extra materials, and going forward, you're allowed to buy things in 5 or 10 packs. So ongoing, it will be somewhere in that range, but the second year will probably be less than that because we will have extra from the initial pilot component.
Is there an online component, like a licensing?
So there is, and my sense is that they have produced this because of a request from schools, that they did not originally do that. So they actually didn't speak to that, but they also, it's called CC PALS, Collaborative Classroom PALS, and it is directly aligned to the skills in the books that they're working on. So in the pilot so far, they have found it more engaging than some other online things that they're doing, like iReady, that are not as attached to what they're doing in the classroom. So that also is a consideration. I'd like to wait to look at the data for the iReady for the end of the year, but it seems like it would be a good fit to replace at least the reading part of the iReady MyPath with CC PALS because it's directly related to those. And so the students have enjoyed it, but it's also, when you get something new, right, are they gonna enjoy it for the full 12 months? Yeah, we'd have to see, but there is a component of that as well. So it's free the first year, and then they have a charge. The charge is included in that 18,000, so we may decide not to do that, but I just put the whole, I'd rather give you the larger amount, and we can winnow it down if we need to.
Is there some evidence, right? I'm not as professional with this stuff, but with the online component, some studies are showing that with the science or reading stuff, that the online might be not harmful, but not as effective?
Yeah, I mean, I think teacher instruction is always the most effective, right? But if there are practice and reinforcement skills, you just have to think about the number of students in the room and how much teacher time you can have. So if there are students that continuously need practice on certain skills and others who don't, that's where the online reinforcement can come in so that they can have that additional practice opportunity. So.
Okay.
It might be a good segue because you're going to go into math, but is there like if this is all big if, but if we went away from MyPath for the ELA, would that make sense to do with math, maybe with Reveal? I don't know it.
So my initial impression is no, just because of our scores in math and how far apart people are and the kind of the need for that reinforcement. I think that the MyPath is very well aligned with 6 through 8 because that is the curriculum they're using. They're using Ready Math. In the K through 5, there are more gaps because it's not necessarily the same sequence. So I might segue into the math as part of that answer. So I think that just wanted to give you kind of 2 maybe end of year updates, thoughts, moving forward, observations from year 1. And so thinking about curriculum, we're in year 3 of Reveal. This is supposed to be the year based on implementation science that we see a lot of gains. Mid-year iReady did not show us those gains in achievement. We will see what end of year says. But in spending a lot of time in math classrooms and doing a lot of math professional development. Some trends have emerged that while we do have a high quality curriculum, and that has been confirmed by many people that I've talked to the state about it, I've talked to Demonstrated Success, who does a lot of professional development. They said the program itself is really high quality, but it's one of those devil is in the details around instructional techniques and around kind of understanding the program itself. So we've been putting a lot of emphasis on getting teachers OGAP trained, which is an agnostic program. It just shows you what good math instruction looks like, whatever program you are using. And then we did a K-8 training with Demonstrated Success in the spring just to look at best practices in math all around. We have a comprehensive proposal from them that we're putting into a Title II request to be able to get really just teacher support in where are the areas that we need to emphasize and slow down with our current programming, where is that we need to speed up, are there things that we can put less emphasis on or more. And so they've been just a really positive, so we took a K-8 team plus administrators to one of their presentations as an unofficial interview to see if they were a good fit, and really enjoy just their collaborative approach to working with teachers. They're not evaluative, they can really help with them. And Bridget's putting together the funding proposal for that, for them to come in and help out next year with the math. So hoping that helps us out as well as kind of getting into fourth year and having those conversations. And then I think that just we had our March PD day, we really prioritized vertical conversations. So we'd have K and 1 talk, then we'd have 1 and 2 talk, we'd have 2 and 3 talk. So they got to speak with the grades above and below them for math implementation, and they really identified some, oh, I'm not teaching it this way, or you're teaching it that way, or why are we jumping from here to here? So there's some stuff that we're doing internally just to make sure we're well aligned from grade level to grade level, that I think will be there. So, yeah. So I don't know if that fully answered your question, Jason. But that's
Helpful, thank you.
And then the third piece, I will jump in because I know I'm eating up too much time, but the third piece really is just around transition. And so it's just kind of a personal priority for me. Professionally, transition from building to building is important. I kind of come in with that lens, thinking about past roles and welcoming students from other schools into our school and just thinking about making that transition smooth. So I asked some questions about that in some of my surveys just as curriculum coordinator. We have gotten information from parents both last year and this year about transitions. And those transitions are, K1, 4, 5, 8 on to 9. So Elizabethtown and I met with all, I guess we never got to co-brack, but we met with 2 this year of the high schools, met with their students, their 9th graders, and asked about transition. We've done a survey of our 5th graders, and then we have that parent feedback more from the K1. So the 4-5 transition seems to be the trickiest, and just the most abrupt change. And so from a curriculum perspective, something that we're working on is that change from 1 teacher in the room all the time to suddenly 5 different rotating teachers. So as part of the ELA curriculum, there will be a shuffling that students will not have 2 different ELA teachers. They will have 1 teacher who will teach them the program comprehensively in 5th grade. So that will give us less switching there. And then 4th grade, we haven't quite come to like a definitive plan, but they are more committed to, I just said, here are the parameters, and there needs to be more access to teachers. So they have done Math Win in the past, and they are interested in exploring that for next year. They just aren't ready to put together a full proposal because we're waiting for the collaborative literacy training, the first one that's going to start on this Friday, just to make sure they're not biting off more than they can chew when they're doing a new program for ELA and thinking about how to rotate students through with math. But just from a curriculum perspective, we feel like that will ease the student experience. So just wanted to say that's one piece of the puzzle. But
Yeah, many years ago, they used to switch for math. Like they just would, there was a pre-assessment, okay, these kids are these kids, and you just went to a different math teacher and, so they got exposed to a bunch of different teachers over the course of the year. Yeah. I'm just going to express my concern that we're banking on open enrollment because it could just as easily go the other way. So I don't want to put all those eggs in that basket. I don't think that's financially responsible.
Glad you saw that too. No floors anywhere.
No floors anywhere, yeah.
no.
From cookies to leach fields.
So, you know, the teachers talked about joy, so I want joy from you, Joe.
Ashley?
Actually, you have some
Ashley, bring us some joy, bud.
They've been very patient here.
I was going to say, your children are amazingly patient.
You should have gotten a cookie.
They're gonna get some before we leave, it's on the desk. So just to recap real quick, the start of this whole septic issue was back on 3/27.
Here, take two.
They're the best, tell you what. All right.
Sorry.
So back on 3/27 is when this whole thing started. One of the teachers came to me and we had a slight air bubble on one corner. And I was like, okay, we shut the pumps off, did our thing. Had Sebastian's come out, pump. That's when he was telling us things it's in failure. Had an evaluation of the system done, and that is when I told Ashley. And Ashley came out and did an assessment of our system. We attempted to dry it out over a few days. That was unsuccessful. And then now we have a plan, and now I'm gonna let Ashley take over here and let him explain what we're looking at and how we're looking at it. And then we're gonna go to a facilities committee meeting next week, and then we'll bring everything back for June 2nd meeting, and hoping that we can move forward to the state of New Hampshire with this plan. It's all yours, sir.
Thank you. You mind if I sit with you? or-
Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ashley Rowe from Norway Plains Associates. So, like Joe said, we've been working on design plans to take care of the septic issue. I'll start with giving you kind of a synopsis of what's going on, or at least what we presume is going on. So, like Joe said, Sebastian Septic Service came out and made the recommendation that the system was in failure. Joe and I talked, and he expressed that there was some interest in trying to dry the system out, like he said, and I believe they tried that. We believe that the failure is most likely caused by what we would call biomatting, which is a deposition of dead bacteria at the bottom of the fields, and it forms a rather thick layer of, essentially, it looks like rubber that's impermeable. So it basically, after a while, blocks off the field and nothing can get out. So we were out here the first day that Joe called, and Sebastian's pumped out the whole field. It took them about 3 trucks to empty all the liquid out of the field, and we came back about a week and a half to 2 weeks later, and it was already full again. Nothing had left the field. So that field over near the new addition is not processing any effluent. It's essentially a holding tank underground at this point. So the system that is here is kind of a conglomeration of 2 different eras of systems, and this was in the letter that's in your packet, so forgive me if I'm reiterating anything, but the field over here to the right that's still in good condition, that's over by the basketball court, was one of 2 original fields from the '84 design that was a type of system called a pressure distribution system. So it's a stone and pipe bed in which the effluent is forced through in a pressurized fashion and goes into the field. Back in 2004-ish, its partner field over on the left here had gone into failure, and Norway Plains came in, and we were contracted to design just a replacement field. We left all the existing infrastructure in place to try to save cost, and we designed a replacement stone and pipe field. At that time, it was decided, since the remaining field was in good condition, but still 20 years old, the dosing of the pumps was going to be set to dose the new field twice to the old field once. So the field that we're talking about now handles about 66% of the water that leaves the building, and 33% goes to the original field. That original field isn't experiencing any problems yet. Yeah, knock on wood. Unfortunately, rules of the state have changed. They used to allow for partial replacements, and you could replace certain components. At this point in time, they require you to design a system to accommodate the whole building. So one of the reasons that we feel the field failed in such a fashion is in 2004, when we did that design work, we were made aware that the water treatment system and the floor drains were being plumbed into the septic system, which is a very big no-no. that the salt that's in that water treatment system and any chemicals that are coming off the floor and through the floor drains are not great for bacteria. It kills bacteria rather quickly and significantly shortens the life of any septic system. So in 2004, when we did replace that system, we sent a letter to the district saying that that needed to be remedied immediately. It was never done. So that's probably a significant contributing factor to why that field is now in failure. We have spoken to Joe. We don't have any plans on our plan set to deal with the water treatment, only because it's outside of the purview of the state. It's nothing that the state permits. I've told Joe we're more than happy to help with the engineering specs for the pumps and stuff. Once the contractor decides how we're gonna get it outside of the building, we can help get it elsewhere. And our recommendation is the field that's coming offline that's still in good shape is a perfect candidate to receive that salt water. It's no longer gonna be a leach field. Might as well just repurpose it and start pumping that stuff over there and dispose of it that way. So that way, you know, that system's gonna come offline, we're gonna replace it, but we're gonna repurpose it, use it for that so that we can solve this problem moving forward. I'm gonna go through just the details of the design real quick, and I'll tell you a little bit about the process, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions for you.
Just quickly, actually, to make sure I'm up to speed. So previously, everything coming off the parking lot, and then everything coming from sinks and toilets and whatnot, were all going into one place?
Not parking lot, but floor drains within the kitchen and like.
Floor drains in the kitchen.
In the kitchen and any maintenance areas, you know, like anywhere there's a drain in the building that's in the floor.
Okay.
That is going into the septic system.
Bathrooms,
Yep.
furnace water.
Okay.
You know, and I don't know the details of like the commercial, water treatment system you have here, but like a residential one discharges about 100 gallons of salt water a day into a system, and that's like a huge no-no, and I imagine you guys are way more than 100 gallons. You know, so it's a significant
When you
amount
said
of
salt, that's why I jumped to the parking lot.
No,
I was
it's,
like, what?
the water treatment system uses the salt as a water softener, and
Gotcha.
so it fills up, creates salt water, and then it gets backwashed and discharged, and so it's just dumping salt water into the septic tanks. So, you can see the building to the south of the plan here. There's two gray boxes on the right-hand side. The one farthest to the right is a grease trap, so all the waste from the kitchen is required to go through a grease trap to separate all the solids out. And then the one to the left there is for bathroom waste and anything that's not kitchen waste. There's another tank over on the left that services the stuff from the new addition.
It's gonna be grease.
Yep, grease tank and tank.
Septic, this is the pump station, this is the green fence that you see out back.
So, you know, we looked at, you know, trying to save cost any way we could. So when Sebastian's was here, he inspected all the tanks, we took a look at them. The existing tanks, the septic tanks are sized appropriately, the grease trap is not. So the grease trap needs to be replaced with a bigger tank. It just doesn't meet the standards anymore. The existing septic tanks meet the size requirements, but they don't meet the design requirements anymore. They're no longer watertight, they're not built up to current standards, and the concrete's starting to deteriorate. The access covers are way undersized for current standards, so if you pull the metal covers off and you look down, you're 3 feet to the top of the tank, and the access cover is about 12 inches by 12 inches. So it's really hard to get in there to do any maintenance to make sure the baffles are correct. So the state isn't gonna allow us to reuse those tanks. Not the least of which, because one of them, we couldn't even get the access cover off with a jackhammer, so the state can't even inspect it. So the two septic tanks need to be replaced as well. Currently, the way they're configured is they're both under pavement. We've moved them off to the grass areas, so they won't be under the pavement anymore, so if there's any problems in the future, you don't have to deal with ripping up pavement. The grease trap unfortunately needs to stay under the pavement just because of where it needs to be. So, moving on to, like Joe said, the pump station, which is the green fence out there, essentially that works as a collection system. It's 6-foot diameter concrete and it's 13 feet deep. And all the tanks gravity feed into that, and then they pump out to the field. We realized when we came out and took the inverts at the tanks, Because we moved the tank on the right by the kitchen off of the pavement, it needed a little bit more pitch, and the tank that's over by the new addition never had the appropriate pitch per code. So we're gonna reuse we're proposing reusing the existing pump station, but the inverts where the pipes come in are gonna get lowered 1 foot, just to make everything up to code, and accommodate the pitch. Then from there, we move on to the pumps and the force mains and this leach field. So we're proposing 2 concrete chamber leach fields in the same location as that existing field. So they're gonna remove the existing field, they're gonna remove all contaminated materials, bring new material in, and start building the new fields. Concrete chambers aren't always our first choice for under a grassy environment. We usually use them in schools, like Stratford School, it's under the parking lot. You see grocery stores that are on their parking lots. Reason we chose them here is twofold. One, they are H20 load rated, so there is literally nothing that's gonna damage them. You could drive a semi truck over them and they're gonna be okay. So you never have to worry about, damage from a vehicle or anything. The other is the state has recently changed the spec for required stone for stone and pipe fields, which is what's here now. And it's becoming increasingly harder to find, trucking distances are getting longer, and the cost is getting more. So now the concrete chambers are about on par as the stone and pipe as far as cost goes, and there's a bunch of added benefits. Like I said, they're H20 load rated, and then secondarily, they get a 40% reduction in size, so you can make the fields a lot smaller. And that's not a new thing, that's been that way for 50 years, it's tried and true, it's not like we're shrinking anything. So we're proposing 2 fields over there, and we're gonna pump to them from the pump station. When we first talked to Joe, he made us aware that the pumps in the pump station were just replaced last year or the year before, I believe. And so we were gonna try to reuse those pumps. The existing system that's here utilizes 4-inch force mains to get from the pump station to the fields, which is incredibly over-designed. We don't even see 4-inch force mains in municipal applications. It's a huge pipe. The pumps that are in the pump station are 1.5 horsepower pumps, which are huge pumps. So when we looked at trying to reuse those 4-inch force mains and reuse the pumps, and what we find is that it's just not a good match from an engineering perspective. What's happening is and I say this theoretically, but when you plot the pump curve versus the system curve of the force mains, if we use the 4-inch pipes, those pumps are going to pump at about 140 to 150 gallons a minute, where 40 is the standard. And there's almost no head, which is the vertical distance we're pumping. It's only about 10 feet. So we're pumping at about 140 gallons per minute with no resistance, and those pumps are gonna run at full capacity. They're at 130% all the time. And eventually they're just gonna burn out, and they're gonna be a problem. We tried looking at reusing those pumps and dropping it down to a 2-inch force main, and then we have the same problem. The pumps, there's still not enough resistance from just reducing to a 2-inch, so we can get the speed down to about 40 gallons per minute where we want it, but the pumps are still just running at crazy speed. So, ultimately the decision was made to abandon the old infrastructure and just go with 1/2 horsepower pumps as appropriate, 2-inch force mains. They should last a lot longer. It's a little bit more money to switch the pumps out now, but those pumps running the way they would be running, you're gonna be replacing them again in 4 or 5 years, and then replacing them again, because they're just run way too fast. So we've switched to 1/2 horsepower, what they call explosion-proof pumps, which we use in all industrial. No. We use them in all industrial and commercial applications. They're just a higher grade casing, they're higher grade components. So they're not significantly more expensive than their non-commercial counterparts, but they're built to withstand repeated abuse and use. And so they should last quite a long time. We recommended to Joe, a perfect use for those pumps that are in there that's we're not gonna use anymore, clean them off, put them in a shed. We can use one of them to pump the salt water to the old system, because that doesn't matter. And then you can have a backup in the shed if there's ever a problem. There's no need to get rid of them, but they just really don't work in this application from an engineering standpoint. So, we're gonna have the pump station with the new pumps, 2-inch pipes that head over to the fields. And it's a very similar configuration to what's there now. At the head of each field, there's gonna be a 330-gallon collection tank that we use for velocity reduction. So we're pumping into a tank instead of into the field, and then it's allowed to trickle out of the tank into the field, so we're not forcing it into the field. Other than that, that's pretty much the rundown on how the system's gonna operate, what the components are. The only thing we have
That
left
was
to do.
all in English, and I got like 50%.
Well, I can translate it. The only thing we have left to do from a design perspective is we're required to have specific, they call them benchmarks, but they're just reference points for the installer, and they have to be within specific distances of every corner. And it's really hard to get those in the right spots before you've actually designed the stuff. So I told Joe we've got to come out and just set a couple reference points around the field. It'll take us half an hour, and we'll have the plans ready to go to the state. So, from here on out, once the plans are ready, we've got what they call an owner signature sheet. It's just a one-page piece of paper from the state that someone would need to sign that it says you acknowledge you've seen the plans and you know that we're submitting them on your behalf. And we send them off to the state for review. A plan set like this is probably going to take about a week to turn around at the state for them to review. They're going to come back and they might want this or that changed. They never really want anything changed from an engineering standpoint. It's always silly notes that they want on the plan and text that they want to see. So I anticipate that'll probably take about a week to turn around. And then you will have plans to give to a contractor to install. Trying to think of anything else.
Will the elevation be the same as what it is now?
Yes, so give or take a few inches, it will be the same as it is now. Obviously, the existing field runs lengthwise this way, and to try to minimize the impact, we've kind of turned it the other way, just because, if we were gonna have it running lengthwise in the configuration that's needed, the state requires anything of this size must have 2 fields, and they have to be separated by a distance of at least 10 feet. So we have to have 2 fields. If we had spun them 90 degrees, then we'd have to bring the pump lines in from the right or left, which means more disturbance on the right or left of the playground and stuff. So we opted to just spin them this way so we can come in the same direction and minimize that disturbance. So obviously, there's certain spots where the elevation will be the same, and then there's other spots where it'll be coming up a couple inches just because, we're working in areas that weren't before. But from a finished product standpoint, it's not gonna look any different. The manhole covers will be in different spots, but it'll be ready to go, and hopefully, as long as we get the salt water and floor drains out, it'll last you another 50 years.
50 years?
Yeah,
You'll still be on
in
board.
this kind of application, like commercial and school, I'd say don't quote me on it, but if this were a residence, I'd say you've got 40 to 50 years.
All right, so I've got a question. You weren't with Norway Plains in 2004, I presume?
I was not.
So good, so you won't be offended by this line of questioning. So in 2004, when we put this thing in and Norway Plains engineered it, it should have lasted for 50 years.
If you had done as we asked and removed the salt water.
Do you have a letter that you notified?
I have 2.
You do? Can you just provide this?
It's cited in the.
Great, all right, you do? All right, I just want to make sure.
I don't know that I gave them to Joe, but I have them in my file, and I cited it in the letter.
Great,
that I
okay.
got to you.
I'm
We have them.
not surprised, so, all right. Well,
There's
that's-
also supposed to be a chain link fence around that system.
Yeah, which was.
There's not?
Back in '04, there was.
Yeah, well, and, in '04, the reason the chain link fence was specified is because a stone and pipe system, if a bus did back onto a stone and pipe system, it would destroy it. That's not gonna be an issue with concrete chambers.
So we won't need a fence
You do
anymore.
not need a
All
fence.
right.
And fences weren't required then, it was just a recommendation. We put it on the plan and say, hey, to keep vehicles away, let's put up a barrier.
Great stuff.
And like with the timing of when we get the plan, when we can sign, state turnaround and stuff, is this doable before school starts again?
Absolutely, yeah. So when we talked to Joe, the plan was always to make sure that you had documents and approvals in hand prior to the end of the school year, so construction could start as soon as everybody vacates. A project like this is probably gonna take a contractor 2 weeks from start to finish.
Oh, great.
You know, obviously, you know, the grass isn't gonna grow that fast, you know, but there'll be equipment in and out probably in 2.5 weeks. So, you know, if we time it right and we can get someone here right after school, you know, hopefully grass will be back by the time school's in session. The one thing we did talk about that I didn't mention is, you know, when Joe and I we came out and did all our field work and surveying during school vacation to try to minimize things. And mostly because we had to have all of these covers open, so we had 8 manhole covers
You didn't want to do that with
open.
400 children running around?
Well, coincidentally, we had a lot of children running around. So, you know, we had 8 manhole covers open to, you know, 13-foot tanks full of effluent, and all of a sudden, there's 30 kids. And I tried to stop them with whoever was supervising, and I said, hey, you know, this is a really dangerous situation from a liability standpoint. Kind of need you to stay away. And I don't know if it was a school-sanctioned thing or if it was just parents, but they didn't like that very much, and they continued to utilize the playground and stuff. So we ended up having to kind of slow down just to guard that stuff. So I recommended to Joe that, you know, no matter what, even if school's not in session, the contractor should quote fencing off the area, just because you never know who's going to show up from the community to use the playground.
I can't believe that people were like, no, yeah, still, definitely, let's play here.
Let's not go to the other playground
Yeah, I
in
was gonna
town.
say, there's multiple places they could have gone.
You kidding me? Hide and go seek is.
We did move ESY to the middle school. It's traditionally here, but we moved it to the middle school in the event this is not done. It just feels like it's just a barrier we don't need to navigate, so.
Sounds like a solid plan, Katie, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, and you know, a lot of it's stuff that's beyond your control. Like that day, it was community members, a lot of them. You know, so like it's not like you can move ESY all you'd like, and you know, Jill from down the street can show up with the neighborhood kids, and you have no idea.
It's always Jill.
It's always Jill.
Jill and Karen.
Karen. Who uses it over the summer? Does the rec use it for soccer over the
So
summer?
we've already talked to them about that.
Okay.
They have their summer league.
Yep.
And they'll be finishing up July 17th of that, so they understand everything that's going on, so they were okay with staying over there out of the way.
We lost another ball.
I think that's even a bigger reason, to make sure it's fenced off, if they're gonna continue to.
They're gonna continue to, absolutely. So our hope is to get a couple of, you know, not having gone out to an RFP, but get a couple of numbers to work through with facility committee next week, and then come back to you all at the June meeting to be like, so really tonight, we're just looking to approve the plan so we can submit it to the state and get that piece going.
Why don't we need an RFP?
We don't necessarily, but it,
Is it gonna be more than 10,000?
yeah.
Then that's what.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
we can put it out to bid, yeah, so we can do,
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about construction costs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be significantly more than.
Yeah, so we have to put it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I thought you were saying, why do we need one?
No, I said, why don't we?
It sounded,
I
it
thought
sounded
you
like
said-
Deanna said, we don't need one, but I don't think that's what she was saying. It sounded like that though.
All right,
Yeah.
well, let's list this.
so right now, we don't have the ammunition to go out to an RFQ or an RFP, because we don't have an approved state plan.
Right.
We can take this and say, hey, can you give me numbers on this? But we don't know if it's gonna be.
No one's
But
gonna
we
give
need-
you a binding quote until
Okay.
it's approved by the
All
state.
right,
you
what
need
you
us
need for
to-
us is a motion for
you
this
need
to be
us to-
approved for you to get started.
So moved,
Please.
so moved.
Is there a second?
Let's go.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
I can't wait to,
Okay.
I can't wait for the June meeting.
All those in favor? Aye. Well, thank you, very
Thank you.
informative,
My pleasure.
not
Thank you for
joyful.
having
Good
us.
job.
Yeah, not joyful, not joyful. Informative.
That's what I said. It was very,
And
very
I was gonna go
informative.
get them a knife, just, I don't think there's a knife out there if you wanna.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, kids.
Should we add some context to why we just
For
said
the
that on
cookie,
live
to
camera?
cut the cookie.
It was to cut the cookie, y'all. To cut the cookie.
Get a knife?
Yeah, yeah. That's because all that was on the recording is Katie yelling out, "Go get them a knife." So just context matters.
All right, so Deanna, district enrollment caps.
Yes.
The train is coming off the track, so
I'm gonna just move it along. So we already have this up because at deliberative, we had a few questions around, open enrollment and that warrant and what's our capacity, and now we're required to post it and update it twice a year. So July and January, and I just think it's good information to have out there regardless. And so you'll see this again when we review policies, but I just wanted to call it out separately since it's required to be posted. I have swapped out the one that we did, prior to voting that was all the sort of what ifs. And so now, and also, so because of our warrants and needing to develop policy and procedure, I've run the majority of these new policies, including this table, through legal, because it's just all sort of new across the state, and we want to be cautious and careful about how we put it together. So projected is just our numbers that we are thinking are going to show up in the grade level for next year, and then being very clear about, for us in the here and now, we still don't know what's going to happen statewide. There's been a few amendments with bills the last couple of days. But right now, we have approved warrants for up to 5 kindergartners and up to 10 first graders for open enrollment seats. We are permitted, and I highly suggest, given the fluctuation in our special education staff and the numbers on case management loads right now, that as long as we state it up front, we are permitted to close our special education programs through the open enrollment process. And then we've also stated on here how many students would be eligible for outgoing. So that's all this document is to just...
So question about the special ed, because Karen comes, Karen's not identified. Karen arrives, particularly when we're talking kindergarten and first grade.
Exactly.
Karen can quite conceivably pop up and be special education. We
Without
can't
a
kick
doubt.
Karen out.
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure that's clear to everybody that, once we accept them,
And I have...
they be ours.
I met with a couple of teachers that had some of those same concerns, and Laura and I talked about it as well. Like, that is, those younger grade levels are most often where you provide those supports and services, not necessarily identified, and sometimes you go through the process and they become identified at those age groups. The sending district, however, would be responsible for the financial piece.
That was my
We
next
would have
question.
to make it happen.
But
So-
they would be responsible for the entire cost, though?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All the special
That was my-
education
that was my
services. And it'll be a little bit of a strain on Vicky and the 2 finance people, because they're going to then have to create like what the real cost is, taking our, say, if the student needs a speech and language service, right? How much does that person's salary cost? And then not only the student's participation in the group, but any evaluation, consultative time, et cetera. So you can bill all of it, and we'll have to invoice people for those appropriate services.
So in theory, if, the sending district sends a kid that's not been identified and then becomes identified and there's a significant cost increase, can the sending district decide to pull that kid back?
It's right now, it's parental choice to leave, so they wouldn't be able to say. I mean, from an IEP perspective, I guess they could come to the table and say, we're recommending placement with us, but it's really no different than the current charter school setup, where we always recommend placement in our home district, but the parent has the right to send to a charter school. So it's very similar in that.
Thank you.
If family decides to send a kiddo here, has not been screened and flagged, and then we screen and flag them, turn around to the sending district and say they need a speech or whatever, professional, the sending district just has to agree with our assessment. They can't challenge it.
So they remain the LEA, so similar to our role with the charter school. We always have a seat at the table, and really it's no different than our high school situations,
Okay.
right? We always have a seat at the table as the LEA stands for local education agent, so we're responsible for the fiscal responsibility. but it's a team decision. So you're one voice in the team. You can say, I disagree, but it's a team decision. So there's opportunities in that paperwork to say, I disagree, but the majority's, going to override that. So if a sending district disagrees,
Yep.
They have evaluative information in front of them that says otherwise. Like, our teams aren't going to recommend something that we don't have data to back up. So I don't foresee it being a problem. There might be some intense conversations. I mean,
Yeah,
we've
'cause
had them before.
conversely, if we have a family from Barrington that wants to go somewhere else, and we've deemed that child regular ed the whole time, and then they go somewhere else and they deem them, nope, they're identified, we have to agree with the assessment of the receiving district? Is that what you're saying?
No, because if we have evaluated them previously and we've said, no, they don't qualify, it would be on us to bring that evaluative data forward and say, here's why, and, has the child really changed significantly over this past year? And they would have to, justify that decision.
Right, but if they evaluate them and they have more current data, then
Right.
we don't have a leg to stand
Nope,
on.
exactly, yeah. So it goes both ways.
Just another interesting hurdle here.
Well, and another interesting point that I don't think families understand is that because of the way the warrant is written and our policies are written, aren't guaranteed a continuous spot. So you can come in first grade, but doesn't mean we're gonna have a seat for you in second grade. So you
Right.
can come here for a year, which is wonderful. I don't know too many families that are gonna, first of all, understand that point, and then second of all, would make a decision like that at such a developmentally important, critical year, as we have. And every year, these policies are added to our many policy lists now that must be reviewed annually and updated annually. So every year we decide to do this, our warrant is gonna have to go out that shows what our classroom availability is. Every year, these policies are gonna have to be updated. This document on the website is gonna be updated. So it's a very living process that I'm finding very interesting. But the parents I've spoke to that are interested in it had absolutely no idea it's not a guaranteed spot, and they were very upset. I said, well, that's
So-
not how it works.
That's a really great point.
Yeah.
Well, if we end up receiving a kiddo, the family should really have to sign something saying, I acknowledge this is for this year because you have availability. It does not guarantee a spot next year. Because what I foresee happening is if we receive 5 kids, these families are going to say, I don't want to pull my kid. This is where they belong. This is where all their friends are. And they're going to come to the school board next year and say, can
It's
you...
written right in the policy. It's
I understand that,
explicitly
but
stated.
that doesn't mean that they've read the policy, right?
They have to sign.
Well, we're.
But you're making
It's all
that-
going forward, and Jeff has added a separate tab on the website where all open enrollment materials will be housed separately, so they're not challenging to find.
Legally, the point was discussed in policy that we want to be legally bulletproof from any possible litigation in the future regarding the way that we're doing this because it's so new. And anytime something like this is so new and involves children, there's a lot of holes in the legal system that allow parents to sue rightly or not rightly, and I'm not going to comment on that, but suing nonetheless. And so...
Yeah, and on the other side of the same, on the same piece of paper there is that you want to save a family from themselves. They're taking their kiddo and
Right,
putting them in our hands, and they didn't do their due diligence. They didn't genuinely know. And then all of a sudden you realize that the little Garth can't go to second grade with his friends. They're going to be mad, you know?
right, yeah.
So,
Yeah. Now, we can, of course, make the decision, right, to put warrants forward next year to say, we're going to move K-1 to 1 and 2, but we don't even know what our numbers are going to look like yet, and that's a long time from now. So we'll just tackle that when we get there.
And just a few more school board meetings.
And
no
a few
worries.
more meetings.
No
It'll be
worries.
fine, yeah.
Any other comments, questions about the enrollment cap? All right, so administrative leave discussion.
So I've lost track of time. A meeting or two ago, we had a brief discussion about the loss that Assistant Principal Sarah McLean has experienced. And many people may or may not know, para-educators, all the educators in the CBA have, if they contribute, have access to a sick bank. And when something happens in life, they have a means to, keep themselves financially whole throughout a contractual year. We don't have that configuration for administrators, which is not uncommon. I don't want to make it sound like that's a negative. And so, given her family situation, I had gone back to look at what our current leave time is, and then the number of work days between now and the end of the year, so that she can focus on what she needs to and not have to worry about financial stress. And so, in order to keep her whole, if you will, between now and the end of the contractual year, which is through June 30th, she would need 18 days to make that happen, and then July 1 would come around and she would have access to, obviously, her new, contractual sick time, vacation time, personal time, et cetera. For people who may be wondering, FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act, as long as you have accrued leave time, you get paid during that time. Family medical leave essentially just holds your position for 12 weeks. And so, but it doesn't support the financial burden. So I will just thank those of you who asked and expressed concern and support on her behalf. That was very nice. So given that it's a financial decision, we have to ask for a vote and have the conversation in a public session, which is, challenging when somebody is dealing with what they're dealing with, so.
Go ahead.
I don't know how it would be worded, as we've never worded it this way before, but I would like to make the motion to, what, we would keep her whole or provide it.
I just think that.
Fund her for the
Fund her
remaining
from the
contractual 18 days.
Yeah.
Second that.
I think it's just important, and I 100% support it. I think it's just important to go on record to say that these kind of decisions hopefully don't have to be made very often, but we're not setting a precedent that.
I was gonna say the same thing.
That we would, the board should look at every situation independently.
Agreed. And
Non-precedent setting, of course.
Svensson, aye.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Again, our sincerest sympathies to Sarah, her husband. Okay. All right, superintendent survey.
So you have a proposed survey in front of you. Used a few different resources to pull questions from. Tried to be as comprehensive as possible from, superintendent-specific questions, but then also trying to gather information around curriculum needs, transportation, safety, student service, and the implementation of district and building goals from the building level administrative perspective as well.
I had one question, because there's this red that says indicates required question, but then there aren't any that are indicated as required. So which ones are you anticipating would be required?
They would, I wasn't going to limit any of them, so I'm not really sure why that popped up there. I didn't limit anything.
Okay.
Can we add a section after each,
Oh, you know what? Superintendent. Take that back, sorry. It's hard to tell here, but these are done in sections.
Mm-hmm.
And the first section is the demographics. So we want to make sure we know building and position.
I don't want them to have to reveal their position. Because there are certain positions that really fine-tune it down, so.
So even as grouped the way they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
So still ask the question, but don't make it mandatory.
Okay, yep.
And then can we add a general comment section after each
Yeah,
section?
I want a narrative after.
Yeah, like superintendent feedback, additional comment, because I just think, I'm a woman of many words. I always love to add additional, so I think sometimes, especially on a 1 to 5 scale, it might not fully encompass what you would like to say for each section. That way, it'll be easier also to review.
Does it make sense at that section too to put a disclaimer in there that's not required to fill that section out?
Oh, like in the introduction?
Because I questioned the same thing that you did, is like, well, if somebody, You know, that could bring it right down to, hey, this is Rick Walker from the South.
Well, we're gonna remove
It
the
would be done in
positions.
crayon.
No, we're not gonna remove
I mean,
it.
It's
say
not gonna be
Not
required.
required, yep. I can add that
Optional.
to the narrative too, like I
Yeah.
can note that the, only those marked with an asterisk are required or vice versa. I can't remember how the survey works.
Yep.
Just so that people are aware, like I can skip this if I choose to.
What is the purpose of number 11? The superintendent asks what can be learned. Is that something that's important, or is that just something that's, like, what am I trying to learn from that one?
We're not gonna always agree, so do I just say, you know, too bad and make my decision and walk away? Or do I reflect and wanna hear other people's, you know, thoughts and opinions and be like, okay, what can I learn from what just happened here?
So that's something in the vernacular of the culture of the school, so that I just don't understand what that means. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was just a.
And then before this goes live, can will or at least just Maura, or if not the whole board, get to see the live survey before we send it out, right? I just want to look at it one more time in real time. I like it printed as well, you know.
Yeah, I can
my
like
paper,
send it
but-
to you as if you're taking it,
That would be
so
great.
that you can
Yeah.
see it, how it's gonna look in the, not in the printed format.
Yeah,
I
thank
had
you.
to mess with it multiple times to get it to like actually
Yeah, well, I'm
print
sure.
and not look confused.
I know you sent the link and it's like, well, it won't let
I know.
me.
She's like, yeah, it won't even let me look. I'm like, oh, because it's not published. So then I had to play with how to get it to print without it being all jumbled. So I'll make those couple of changes and additions, send it all out for you guys to look at as though you're taking it, right? So you can just view it as a participant and then let me know when it's ready to go.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, then you're setting up like Jeff's setting up a.
I'll just
Dummy
add,
account or-
I will just add Moira to the all staff so she can send it. And the staff knows it's coming. I've messaged it in a few places.
I think Jason offered to do that, didn't you?
I make forms I make plenty of forms, so I'm happy to make it. I didn't know who was making it, so I
Okay.
just did
Making
myself.
what?
The form.
Oh.
All right, so it's not, then we don't.
Nice try.
Okay.
Yeah, but I've made sure staff is aware, like, and that's kind of been a real big change in our practice this year. We've tried to survey after PD days or just in general, like, we honestly want to hear what you have to say. We can't improve, work together, change, get better unless we hear your feedback. And it's not always pretty, and that's okay. We all have our opinions, you know, like you're not gonna keep 200 people perfectly content, but we all have different experiences and we wanna hear what you have to say. So make sure they are aware of that. And I think there has been a concern in the past, not recent years, but, you know, like, I'm not answering that because I don't want my email collected. And so I think by being very clear that your position is optional, hopefully will make people feel comfortable. We've talked about it at my monthly union meetings. I'm like, well, why aren't people answering this? Well, even though it's not collecting, you say it's not collecting emails, people are worried. I'm like, but what are they worried about? Like, I feel like the administrative team is pretty easy to talk to, and we're open communicators, and, you know, we truly want to hear what's going on, and we've been very responsive, I feel, to the survey feedback so far, so I think we have some good traction with, okay, we heard you, now we're going to adjust how we do the next PD day, because your input is important to us, so.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the building is important, but the role is less so.
Sure.
All right, on to nominations.
All right, so you all know how challenging the hiring climate is, and we've had some pretty challenging positions to fill. And I
just continue to be so excited and impressed with the candidates that we are able to bring forward. So Anna Strand is currently fulfilling Sam Lister's remaining of year, and she has just morphed so well into the team and the building. I had an opportunity to have a great conversation with her, and so we are recommending that she do the 1-year leave for next year. I may not have them in the same order you guys do, I apologize. Lauren Carey, never in my wildest dreams or Katie's did we think we would come up with an occupational therapist. And she just has a wealth of knowledge and experience and energy, and we are super excited to bring her nomination forward, given the needs that have just grown in that area. And then this was another one. Looking for special education teachers for multiple years has been a challenge. Amanda LaFlamme is currently teaching in Vermont, has been living there for many years, and her family got relocated to this area work-wise, and so she was obviously looking to shift her position as well, and so we are, and currently has special ed teaching background, but is coincidentally teaching regular ed 4th grade right now, so just has that direct experience with 4th grade content and curriculum. So those are the 3 for nominations. Do you want to do those before I talk resignations?
Sure.
Okay.
Would anyone like to make that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Welcome to the team.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Welcome to Barrington. Well, at least it was an even split.
Yeah. So the resignations you have, one was in the on the agenda, and then the other 2 I got after the agenda was posted. So we'll adjust that. Amanda Bisnett was new to us this year. She just made a change career-wise. I actually worked with her when she was the director of Charles Ott Academy years ago. So she loves being here. She has a lot of experience as coordinator administration, and was just looking to get back in to that, and also something that was more commensurate with her previous administrator type salaries. So she is moving on. Jess Simmons was a special educator with us, shift to a paraprofessional role because she was working on her social work degree, and so that resignation doesn't come as a surprise as she finishes up internships, clinical hours, and then shifts, into a new career. Definitely was surprised by the 3rd one, new to us this year, paraprofessional, has been just super supportive of the building, kids, the team, and you can see by his letter that he kind of is grudgingly going. I don't really know the reason, but unfortunately, that's a 2-week notice and not until the end of the school year. So, those are the
I didn't have any of
Whoops.
those. Thank you.
Oh, you didn't have the additional ones? Oh, I apologize.
No, that's fine. No worries, no worries, no worries. I just wanted to read.
All right.
Anyone like to accept those resignations?
I do with regret.
I second with regret.
What was that?
I second with regret.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Best of luck to you all. All right, Jeff?
Okay, I want to give a brief update on the plans to replace our student information system, which is Power School, with a new system called Alma for the 27-28 school year. So there were 2 primary drivers for this decision. The first driver, and the most important in my mind, was just long-term financial sustainability. So the challenge for Barrington's school district is Power School's annual price increases of 6 to 7% it's just not sustainable anymore. Of all the years, and no matter how much negotiating, threatening that I've done, there, no effect.
You that.
Yeah, no effect. Every budget season, it's the same. I think we're just too small of a district to influence their pricing strategy. So, so the pivot to Alma, it guarantees us a predictable 3% annual increase, which is a lot more, it's a lot less hard on the budget than 6 to 7%. So it's less than half. Also, in 2022, the state of New Hampshire entered into a partnership with Alma to create a system called Index for all of the state reporting. Because of that partnership, the state is providing subsidies for us, for all New Hampshire districts, which is just going to further reduce our total cost of ownership for this system. So Alma has a proven track record. They're in 60 countries worldwide. Since 2022, 33% of New Hampshire districts have made the switch to them. So, and I'm always one that says, hey, this is new. In 2022, we may have had the opportunity, but they've worked out all the bugs and they're getting a lot of positive feedback from it. So I feel safe moving in that direction. So, I mean, the impact to switch for Barrington is just, it's a significant savings in taxpayer dollars that, if needed, we can redirect that money to more instructional support, upgraded septic systems.
ELA curriculum.
Curriculum. Yeah, but that's the primary thing. And then the second real driver is really the functional benefits of this system that are going to reduce our data management burden. And I think from previous budget board meetings, I've put up a slide in the past that shows a very complex configuration of how PowerSchool is supported and managed. For example, Alma's automated state reporting, that's going to replace days of tedious manual data exports from PowerSchool. Alma has a direct data sync right into the New Hampshire Department of Ed. So that data sync, it provides like real-time data validation, and theoretically, it's near zero manual input or manual effort. So, that is a significant burden taken off our staff just in hours of work.
Is there a reason why we have to wait till 27, 28? We couldn't do it 26, 27?
Well, there is, and I'll talk to you about that. And there's a little piece on the implementation that may explain that for you.
Okay.
Yeah. For the teachers, they're going to also gain efficiencies because they get a system that's intuitive, easy to navigate. It unifies all of the student profiles, attendance, behavior, academic history. It also integrates direct parent messaging, like right from the system, which in PowerSchool, it's a little hard to do that. So all of those things, they're going to help support our MTSS goals as well. So, and another benefit of Alma is their real-time analytics and their integration with Nessus. So leadership teams, they'll have the benefit of real-time access to our major benchmarks like iReady and SAS. And because it's integrated into Nessus, all of the student services data, it's not going to be siloed in a separate system anymore. So that is going to save administrative time to try and synchronize both of those systems. So, I'm pretty excited about it. It's had a good amount of time, like since 2022 in New Hampshire and districts, and I feel comfortable. And from what we've seen, it is really much, I would say it's an upgrade from PowerSchool functionally.
So partnered with our state, we're getting a subsidy. It's a lot less expensive, a lot easier to use, but only 33% of the state is using it. What are we giving up with PowerSchool?
Well, for districts of our size, we're not
Nothing?
giving up anything we're gaining. We're going to gain a lot of efficiencies,
Sounds like a no-brainer.
for sure.
So I will
Yeah.
say for some districts, though, Alma is just a student information system.
Yeah.
They don't do attendance, applicant tracking, no additional, right? So we have to now balance the extensions we have through Power School versus just the student information system. So I think for some larger districts, they're like, but now with the Nessus migration, they're making it almost impossible to say no.
Okay.
Like we've gotten to the point where the pros just far outweigh
Cons.
the perceived cons.
Well, and that was my question. I don't say they don't. I think it sounds like they do, but have you already been thinking of what you'll do in the absence of like applicant tracking of the plugins?
Yeah, so we've, literally all of the third-party modules that are connected to PowerSchool, there is another solution for them. So, and a lot of them are integrated, like instead of School Messenger being another third-party module, they have a messaging system integrated into it. So some are taken away, some that there are APIs that work. All of the things that we need are automated. So from single sign-on to APIs being connected and doing functionality, one of the things I did not want to do is manually administer a separate system. So this will feed all of the things that we need to do.
So to more directly answer your question about why not now, so it is student, parent, guardian, emergency contact, like it's all of those data points on every single kiddo in the district, right? So what Alma does is they give you a year to, what they call it, a sandbox, right? You're gonna play in the sandbox where they're not gonna charge us. So yes, we have to do a startup fee, but it's under $5,000. And we get the entire year to scrub our data. So then when we literally flip the switch, when it's time to go live, it's clean, it's accurate, it's fresh.
Yeah.
For us to, at this point, say to the admin assistants, like, hey, we're gonna make a switch, they would be like, yeah, okay. The good, exciting news is, like, we've had some brief conversations with the people who use it from that data entry perspective, and I was like, ooh, like, the change is hard. They were so excited. They're like, oh my goodness, thank gosh, so it's, I think it'll be good that we have the year to make sure that we have the time for the training and to get everybody, on board before it happens.
I also
Yeah,
think
so
the
what
teachers
this-
would appreciate not trying to learn this new system on top of the ELA.
That was the other piece, yeah. And we've added a lot of things to get us sort of into the technology world. It's only been a year, 2 years since we've had, School Spring and applying online, and we're getting ready to add on attendance, so we're not literally handing in blue slips and don't have real-time knowledge of the staff that are in and out each day. And so it's hard to, separate it out, and we don't want to let go of those improvements. So we just want some time to either look at a system who can take all the rest, or are we satisfied with the extensions through PowerSchool and we keep them?
And the nice thing is, in what Deanna just described, the strategy is called a mirror year strategy, where you run two systems in parallel, and they give you that, it provides you that time, that rollout time, during the 26-27 school year, where we can work everything out, and then we don't have any disruption to active school operations. So, it's specific to that, like some key milestones for that would be fall of 2026, we get our contract finalized and we get our implementation teams configured. Who's going to do what? Winter 2026 and through spring of 27, we're going to do all of the data mapping, what Deanna mentioned, and all of the hands-on training and workshops for teachers, for secretaries, administrators. Then summer of 2027, we do a final parallel run and system prep, so that in August of 27, we can do a full go live and launched for 27, 28. And I've been through a lot of these, and they don't. That sounds really like straightforward and easy, but there's a lot to doing this. But I just definitely think it's worth it.
It sounds straightforward and easy.
We'll make
Sure,
it.
they'll get no
We'll make
problem
it.
about
The
that.
data's gonna
No
be
hiccups.
perfect. It's all.
I met with the rep first, and I was afraid to go talk to Jeff about it, but we then met, and then Jeff met with me with the rep, and we just really dug in and had some, we asked every question we could possibly come up with before we made the decision, so we're excited about it.
Katie, is Alma what they're talking about might replace Nessus when they're talking about replacing Nessus?
Yeah, they have said that that's going to take place for next year. Like Nessus apparently is going to be gone next year, but they have not given us like the date of that happening or if it actually is happening. So
When
we're
was
all
the-
kind of waiting and
When
seeing.
was your last update?
Wow.
Okay, so I just asked Shane, who's the rep, that directly. I said, what's the go-live date? So they have a couple of districts who are already Alma users who are going to work out the kinks and use it, so they're already migrating it. So Nessus will be no longer, Nessus stands for New Hampshire Special Education Information System. So Nessus will go away, and Alma will own the Special Education Information System. So when we go live, it should all be ready to go. Like special education, regular ed, all the data entry will all be through Alma. So.
I think we're waiting. I think we're doing it at the right time because we're not a guinea pig.
Right.
Anything new, and it's been proven in other districts. So I think pretty good with that.
Do they do septic systems?
Don't do leach fields either.
All right, well, thank you, Jeff.
Nice
All
job,
right.
Jeff. Thank you.
We're up to policies.
All right, so this is all, this is a big one. So I'm going to talk through it, and then please ask me as many questions as you have. So we currently have a JFABA. It is what is now in this list recoded as JFABA R6. So our JFABA is relative to tuition expenses for Barrington residents only. So now, and it only talks about Oyster River and Dover High and how we're going to pay for that. So that now becomes part of, the overarching pathways to education. So now JFABA is alternative enrollment pathways. So it has resident public school students, non-residents through open enrollment, how you access co-curriculars, and then the special education responsibilities. And that policy has gone through both NHSBA and also our own legal. So that's how that one. Other districts have more components to that policy because they have high schools, so there's just additional components. One that we may want to consider adding is EFAs. I know in other, moving forward, I'm kind of just waiting to see how the rest of this plays out in the legislative season as far as EFAs and open enrollment, because this may all have to change again drastically if it goes statewide. But some districts have had challenges with needing to figure out a tuition structure for EFA students to access courses, clubs, extracurriculars, et cetera, because they're supposed to use their EFA dollars to pay for that. It's not free access like the homeschool students are. So it just gets multi-layered. That's why we thought having a pathways policy would help to clarify. So then JFABA R1 is the enrollment caps that we talked about earlier in the agenda. R2 is the actual open enrollment policy written based on our warrant articles that were approved. And legal wrote that one, and then I asked questions, and we went back and forth and added and deleted and et cetera. R3 is the application for incoming. R4 is the application for outgoing, if we have students who want to access other open enrollment districts, which there aren't really any in driving distance, so I don't know that that will be an issue for us. 5, and I just see that there needs to be an R there, so I will add that in the posted agenda. R5 is the lottery procedure for both incoming and outgoing in the event that we have more than the number. So we had a really great starting point with this because we had the Oyster River lottery procedure already detailed. So we were able to use, essentially that same, you're going to get a number as the applications come in. The numbers aren't priority order or anything. If the number of people who want to come in exceed the allowable number, then we will draw from a hat or a fishbowl or whatever we draw from. And designated in that procedure that it would be myself and 2 witnesses. So I probably would ask a board member to come and just be present and, witness that process if we have to do a lottery. So then, as I mentioned a minute ago, R6 is high school tuition expenses for Barrington residents, which content-wise hasn't changed. We've always had that one. It's just recoded. R7 is our lottery application for Oyster River. And then R8 is the high school lottery procedure. So R7 and R8 have never been in policy before, but it felt like it was an incomplete package if we were going to talk about pathways to education and have that procedure but not have the accompanying documents. So I just pulled them all in.
It was never in policy. We talked about policies when we were telling people they couldn't go to Oyster River.
It was in the.
So it was
The application itself. So because we have the procedure and the policy was there, but the application wasn't with it.
I thought you said there was no policy. I was like, hold the phone.
No. There's absolutely a policy that we've changed multiple times. No, just the application to go. And it felt odd to have an application for open enrollment, but not just simply include the Oyster River application as part.
I know I'm being nitpicky. Am I being crazy because I'm tired and hungry? Shouldn't the procedure come before the application? Can we just switch the numbers, right?
Absolutely.
Can the lottery procedure for Oyster River be R7 and then the application for such be R8, right? Because wouldn't you want the procedure first?
Well, except that you don't necessarily need a lottery. You only need a lottery if your number exceeds. So if we get too many applications and we need a lottery, then here would be the procedure.
True.
So I don't, honestly, it doesn't matter to me.
I agree with Carrie. I think
Okay. You know what I mean?
policy should be first, and then
Well, the policy is first, but it goes.
here's the procedure, and then if you need the
Yeah,
form,
it
it
should go
comes
policy,
after.
procedure,
Then
form.
application.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yep.
policy, procedure, form.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
see
the
why I love
order.
being in Sorry, I know. I should have caught that in policy committee.
Policy nerd.
No, it's okay. Hey, those are just numbers. That's easy.
Yes, I love the forms. They looked great. Thank you
They
for
look
taking
way
our-
better than when we met in policy,
Yes,
right?
thank you for taking our suggestions. I appreciate it.
We've done a lot of work
good?
on these. I actually feel really good about how they
I
came
do. I
together.
feel really good about it, and they look
They're
good.
clean, they're clear, I think, and, we always learn things when we do something the first time, so.
When I read off, then should I actually correct it in my read off?
I would say as amended.
As amended.
And then they'll be accurate for the
Second
second read, yeah. Darth, looking spiffy.
That's right. Every meeting
Do you want me to go?
going forward.
Yeah, take it away, Carrie. Alphabet soup.
All right, these ones are long. So I make a motion to approve the following policies for first read: JFABA, JFABA R1, JFABA R2, JFABA R3, JFABA R4, JFABA R5, JFABA R6, JFABA R7 as amended, and JFABA R8 as amended.
That's almost a tongue twister.
Is there a second?
I know.
I'm going to second that. That was a great job.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. I wonder if when we read them for the second, you can say just
JFABA R1, R2,
R1, 2, 3, 4, R1.
Well, after the second, when I
No,
got to the sixth one,
I
I
think
was
you
like,
have to spell it out.
did I say that? Do you remember when you look at a word spelled the right way, you all of a sudden are like, that's not the
This
way you
doesn't
spell
look
it.
right.
Like, it's like that's when it started happening all the time. Okay.
Can I go back before we?
No.
We're so close, I know. Can I go back to some of the school reports? Real quick, the BMS one, MTSSB progress. Have we ever talked about restorative practices in schools for targeting individual students to engage in behavior. Right now, I would say in 5th grade, there's a lot of collective punishment of the masses when behavior is only exhibited by a few. So if we're going to talk social emotional learning, and I know Mr. Fortier is going to look at instructional disruption, a lot of takeaways, both in my house and beyond, so this is partly as a parent, but is that kids are feeling targeted when they haven't done anything wrong. And I would like to get towards a more restorative approach for the kids who are.
Yep, agreed. So it's only Tuesday. I actually went over and met with the team on Friday and had a great conversation just about everything that's going on, made some suggestions about parent communication and feedback. So totally agree with you. When you have a small number of students, we'll just use 100, right? You have a handful of kids misbehaving, you should target those handful of students. When we look at our behavior dashboard data, in this particular grade level, the script is completely flipped. It's the majority, not the minority, and so you would be talking to nearly 100 kids about repeated behaviors that have been modeled, discussed in advisory, discussed as a whole group, et cetera. So my suggestion was, please detail out to the families all of the conversations and the things that you've done so they have a better and more complete understanding of what's happening, and engage them in supporting what we can do better or differently to make people feel more positive about the experience that they're having. Because I know from about January on, off and on, there's been some recess lunchroom struggles. So they're working on a parent communication right now. But I would say from a data perspective, when you look at all of the grade levels and you look at just, Rich Fortier, as we know, is like the data guru. And so he pulled together some graphs and information from the dashboard just on lunch and recess time. And it is the total opposite in that grade level than it is in the other 3 grade levels. Usually, you've got about 10 kiddos who are your repeat offenders who comprise, 95% of your behavioral incidents or referrals. And in this case, it's a large group comprising those concerns. And so, not that the educators don't already know this, but how I process verbally, right? So I'm like, just talk to me. Like, as we talk, we might come up with some thoughts, some ideas, like what can we do differently? Because I want them to be able to leave the year feeling like, we've accomplished something positive here, not like, ugh, my recess is punitive and damaging. And so they're working on a parent.
Well, maybe it's worth flipping the script for those. There are still some kids who aren't
Agreed.
doing anything,
Yep.
who should feel, keep up what you're doing, and whatever juju you have, pass it on.
Agreed. And we talked too a lot about the structured modeling that Rich Boardman did 2 years ago and now has continued the practice. So Playworks happened to be the company who came in and really worked on what does it look like at recess in that structure. And they have student coaches, leaders, what do they call them, Katie?
Student ambassador.
Ambassador. I don't remember. Anyway, so each grade level has students who sort of, spearheads and cheerleads that from
That was
a
working,
student
right? I
perspective.
think that was a positive.
Yeah, but this group were some of those cheerleaders that are now we're saying,
Now what are they
that,
cheering
like,
on?
so what happened?
Exactly.
Like,
So we have to
that's
bring them back
concerning.
to what they learned. Yeah.
How's it
It is
called that?
concerning that 95% of the kids are not doing as expected. Like, there's no
And it's not malicious.
triangle that represents that.
No, you're agreed. So that's, I guess, was the surprising part from the data. It's not angry, malicious, bad behavior. It's rambunctious, hands-on, each other behavior. And it's causing a lot of disruption. And then it's a big group. And
Is that why you
so-
cranked the heat on over there today?
Well, and it feeds, to Emily's point, I know it's, your point, Emily, was more about academics, but that whole transition piece to it, things are just done differently at BMS on top of all of it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And they have to
Yeah,
be ready
I'm
for that.
actually excited. We've talked for many years over how to ease that transition and do things differently. And it's, if we were growing instead of somewhat declining, it would be like, let's have a 6-person team so you can have two teacher teams for kids, but we just don't have the numbers to support that. But I really love the idea of, I think it's amazing and fabulous that we have a teacher for reading and a teacher for ELA, but sometimes it can feel disjointed. And so now to have one teacher with that entire ELA block, I'm excited to see how that works out. So.
Maybe in looking at the schedule, because of the new curriculum, you can look at the schedule and maybe 5th graders just need more movement. And that would maybe.
I'd rather give them 2 somewhat shorter recess times than the one backed up against lunch. Like, we just have to get creative. And BMS is going to be our big building, numbers-wise, next year. The incoming, so what will be 5th and 6th grade are all in the mid-100 and teens as opposed to.
Oh, that's right. Yes, it's that big group. Yeah.
It's like 114 and 117, I think.
Very excited about that.
Yeah. So, and it's a really small 8th grade group going out.
I wonder if it's a lot of first-time parents too, because I've always noticed, I remember years ago volunteering or subbing, that teachers warned me that if you have a grade with a lot of first-time oldest children, that tends, because they're not used to that transition yet, the parents don't know who to email, how to deal with 6 teachers, how to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's even at home, there's a lot of.
I will give you this data point. It is a 2/3 male class.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a factor, right?
It is a factor. Yeah, it's a factor.
What was in the water?
Where did those X's go? Yeah.
All right, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make
Oh, no, sorry, we
public
need another
comment.
public comment. There's no public in person. Anyone online? Going once? Going twice? Well, thanks for sticking with the meeting.
I'll make a motion to.
Wait.
Oh.
There's a hand up.
Oh,
There is a
okay.
hand
Oh,
up.
all right.
Down.
Lynn?
Oh, Lynn.
Lynn, love to hear from you.
Mike texted her and said, put your hand down.
Did you do that?
Okay, it's up again.
Yeah, her hand.
All right, Lynn,
Can you guys hear me?
now we can.
Sorry. I know you guys have had a long meeting. I'm sorry. As
don't
a
know
5th
the
grade
pu-
parent,
Can
and
you hold on
Mike
one
is probably
second,
gonna
Lynn?
Sorry, we were just adjusting the volume. Now we can hear you. Go ahead.
Sorry, Mike is probably hiding in a corner while I'm talking. But as a 5th grade parent, I just want to voice my concern about the lack of transparency with the transition to middle school. We're at the middle of May, and we have not heard, except for from Bridget, about residency, anything. And I think the only one who's really done anything is Kelly Doucette at the elementary school. I would urge for the middle school to make contact with 4th grade parents. It is a big transition, as I agree with you guys. And as a former middle school teacher and former 4th grade teacher at your building last year, the transition needs a lot of work, more than just looking at how many classes they're rotating to. And I'm really, really disappointed with how the middle school has handled this. And I have voiced my concern to Emily already and to the middle school administration. But I would really highly encourage the school board to take interest in this and make sure it's not a failure like it has been in the past. And I know those are strong words, but as a 4th grade parent who has a lot of experience in this realm, I am very nervous. And although she is my oldest, it's not like I'm going into this blind. So just my 2 cents, but thank you for all that you guys do.
All right, thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Deanna, can you reach out to the middle school? It does seem odd that it's mid-May and there's not been a parent night and things
Absolutely.
at least announced, so people know it's coming, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a positive change, but we also need to understand what else they're concerned about so we can answer those fears.
Yeah. So.
Agreed.
And, maybe in a newsletter, it can announce, I don't know exactly happens in Barrington anymore, but like in Dover, like the counselors come over and then the administrator comes over and then the kids all go visit and all that kind of stuff. Just so parents know that this is, maybe we haven't announced it well enough, but this is how we work on the transition.
There is quite a bit that we do for transition.
But if parents don't know it yet.
But if parents don't know it and have experienced it, for sure. And, you know, sometimes we spend, although it's very valuable time, we have to maybe step back a minute and think about just the population as a whole, the tier one. A lot of energy is put into students who may need more, but if we're already not at baseline doing enough, that's a problem.
That was sort of my take, is like, if I had presumed it wasn't as pervasive as you had said, but like tier one should be the biggest, it should be the triangle, like Maura said, and if it's not, we need to back up. But again, maybe just because I'm one of the ones with presumably a kid who hasn't done anything, one of the minority.
Sure.
Yeah. He doesn't tell me anything, but I haven't heard anything.
That's what they all say.
I mean, just, maybe I'm oversharing, but his comment was like, I think they hate fifth grade boys. And, you know,
that's not what we
gets
want.
his cynicism from me, so he's joking, but there's a truth behind every joke, and there's perception is reality, so.
Well, and
Not that reality.
And it's
I don't think
not
they hate fifth grade.
about whether people agree or disagree, right? We have to listen to the words coming out of children's mouths, like, this is how it's making me feel and this is how I'm perceiving it. So what do we need to do differently to be more clear and proactive?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Jeff has a question. Jeff's hand is up.
Second.
Hand is up again.
Whose hand is up?
Lynn?
Sorry. You guys are just having good discussion, and I just, if it's okay, I can add in. If not, no. You can tell me to be quiet
We
tonight.
haven't closed public comment, so.
Oh, and I must have like 30 seconds left or something, right?
I was gonna say, you get all 3 minutes, go ahead.
Thanks. No, Deanna, I would encourage, because I am part of the BES PTO, I would encourage back to look at some of the surveys that were sent out, because we've talked a lot at PTO through the fourth grade celebration committee, just because you have a whole group of fourth grade parents coming up that have also had fifth graders in the past. And from my understanding, a lot of the surveys that people have submitted have voiced these concerns, and it doesn't seem like that feedback is being understood or used. So I'm not sure if the transparency on surveys is where it really should be.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So we're happy as a Barrington BES PTO, Barrington, New Hampshire PTO to sit down, or the fourth grade celebration committee, because that's where a lot of the comments and concerns have come from.
All right. Excellent. We may need to pick your brain a little bit.
Is that it, Lynn?
I'll stop talking, Moira. Thank you. Sorry, 8:15.
All right, no, really, in honesty, anything else, Lynn?
No. I appreciate all that you guys have done. It's been a very interesting meeting, and I don't like making comments like this. Fourth grade mom comes out of like, I need people to make sure that they understand there's a lot of concerns going around.
All right, well, thank you for that input.
Thank you.
All right. And Dana, I just have one question about some of the announcements. It says Juneteenth, the district is closed. Why would the district be closed?
Because that currently we had observed Juneteenth,
Right, but it's not a holiday for district employees.
We've observed it since for the
It's
last.
not listed in the administrator contract and things like that.
It's not in the new agreement that starts July 1, but it was in the last, in the current contract year.
Okay.
That was a decision made 2 years ago, I think.
I don't think we ever voted to make that an observed holiday.
It was part of their, no, it was part of the school calendar a couple of years ago. There was a specific.
Well, that there wouldn't be school if it was that day, but I don't know that we ever discussed that the district would be closed. But, okay, well.
Not moving forward.
Good, because there's no reason to.
But, yeah, we did have a separate discussion about the districts in the area who observe it.
The school board chair comes out against Juneteenth.
I'm not
Way to go.
opposed to Juneteenth, but here's the thing is, like, it's, like, our history in our state is we don't close the school districts until it's a state-recognized holiday, and it is not.
Some districts do.
Right, but we, as a district, did
yeah.
not. So
But wasn't it in the contract? It wasn't, I might be misremembering, but I thought it was one of the approved holidays in the contract for like a.
Moving forward,
No,
no.
but the last round it was.
2 years ago, we did have a conversation about, are we gonna add it, are we not? Who in the area has it, who doesn't?
So, okay.
But
Going
moving
I'm
forward,
misremembering.
it will not, it won't be there.
Okay.
And then, it can obviously change if the state ever does that. But,
Agreed.
all right, then, motion to adjourn? someone?
Nope, I'm not saying it again.
Oh, Rick said it the first time, and I said it, and I.
All right.
Oh, Lynn has her hand up.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Thank you very
Garrett,
much for
stay.
the gift.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everybody.